Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Khalil Doheny, and I'm the Director of Content Marketing at Digital Niche Agency. Today, we have the team of Manhattan Transfer Streaming Service team. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Doing
Thank you.
great, doing
Great.
great.
Awesome.
So happy to
Welcome
be
to
here.
everybody joining us too.
Yeah, I know it looks like we're having a big crowd already. Very excited to
Terrific.
kick this off. And team, while the audience is coming in, do you want to kind of just go into introductions, introduce yourselves, your background, and really what we can expect from the webinar today?
So my name is Sky,
oh,
my name is Sky Conway. I'm an independent film producer, mostly specializing in high quality science fiction on an extreme low budget. I'm the creator of Manhattan Transfer, the series that we're going to talk about today, and develop with my team, our novelist, John Stith, who's not with us today, Ethan Koch, producer, Sean, our director, amongst others. And Sean?
Yes, hi, everybody. I'm Sean Piccinino, and I am honored to be directing this amazing project. You might have seen some of my stuff over on Netflix and HBO and all those fun places. And I'm really, really excited to get to delve into this, pure kind of science fiction storytelling. And I just can't wait.
Right, and I'm Ethan Koch. I am mostly writer, but also producer. And so I've worked with Sky on 4 or 5 different projects, and I'm happy to be working on this one. Really excited about it.
Awesome. And yeah, and this webinar is really for the audience to get a little bit more information about the series, more information about the crowdfunding campaign on WeFunder, and to answer any of your guys' questions. So if you have a question throughout this whole webinar, please leave them in that Q&A chat box. We're going to make sure we have some time at the end to answer those. And I just want to throw out a quick disclaimer. Due to the SEC guidelines, there are some questions we cannot answer. That's everything from financial projections, anything that's forward looking, anything that's terms versus non-terms. If there are any questions around that, please check out the WeFunder page. It just has to be a open forum for everyone. And so that way everyone can have the access to the same answer. So with that being said, Ethan, I'm going to hand it back to you and we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, I seem to have popped up an extra window for some reason. Anyway, hang on a second. I'm gonna hit this. All right. All right. Well, Sean, if you want to get going.
Yes, so thank you everybody for joining us. Obviously, this is a really, really cool project. It's based on an amazing novel that's, very popular novel, award-winning. And it's this, really incredible story about literally the entire city of Manhattan being abducted by this unknown alien intelligence. And
Please take me with you.
Yeah, quite literally, this dome, this sphere forms around all of Manhattan, and of course, the chaos that would ensue with that as it's being lifted into the sky. You can imagine everyone around the city, from all obviously the politicians to just the
Oh, please take all the politicians too, Sean.
well, they're coming with us.
Oh, damn.
And they get lifted into space and then boarded onto this massive ship. And of course, what's going on down below when all of Manhattan is now just gone. And then the folks up in this, now spaceship, mysterious spaceship, figuring out how they're going to come together, just even how they're going to figure out what is actually going on. And people working together, and alliances are going to form. People are going to fight or flight mode. They might backstab each other. Survival of the fittest. All of these things are going to come into play. And also, we might run into this moment of whether or not it's only humanity, it's only Earthlings, quote unquote, that are on this ship, who have been abducted by this mysterious, again, alien species.
Love it. Sounds cool.
I like it. Why don't you
Oh,
show the clip?
Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
let's sorry about that. That we also have one of our lead actors in Casper Van Dien, who is known for a science fiction iconic cult classic in Starship Troopers. He is going to be one of our lead actors on this, along with some really amazing Star Trek alums. So this thing is just packed full
Chock full.
chock full of amazing science fiction talent, and we're just really excited about that. And we're going to continue with our casting process, just really filling out this amazing team of to bring to life this sci-fi world. So let's hear from Casper now.
Hi, I'm Casper Van Dien, and I want to tell you about Manhattan Transfer. It's a new series I'm involved with that you could be involved with too. Manhattan Transfer is the story of this huge alien ship that abducts Manhattan, literally rips it out of the ground and takes it on board. But why? Are we some alien scientific experiment, part of a cosmic zoo, or tonight's dinner? That's what we're going to find out during the course of the series, and the possibilities are endless. And the investment opportunities for this project are out of the world. I'm excited to be a part of this project. I'm doing my part, and you can do yours. You know what to do.
I love that video. Sean, I haven't had an opportunity yet to work with Casper for years. I've wanted to put together a project which would involve him. You've had the pleasure of directing him.
Yes, Casper is now I'm lucky enough to call him a dear friend. We have worked on a lot of projects over the years. I think we're even maybe into the double digits now. But yes, I've known him for years and years, and we've worked on everything from World War II epic, films to we did do a science fiction series together, and of course movies on Netflix and all of that together as well. And he's just one of the most amazing humans. I'm going to say human beings here with this cool concept we're working on. He really is just one of the most amazing humans on the planet. Super hard worker, of course, but also just really kind, and just always is in a good mood and brings a smile to set.
I love his energy.
Yeah, just got a great energy. And there's never been any project where anybody hasn't come to me and just been like, Casper's so amazing. I can't wait to work with him again. I want to work with him on multiple projects. It's always that same story, and myself included. I'm like, I can't wait to work with him again. And I'm always pitching him. Literally, it could be any project I'm on. I'm like, you guys should cast Casper. Just one of those guys. And his wife Jenny is amazing, who's also on our cast. She's like a sister to me, and just such a good close friend of mine. So super excited to have them both involved with the project, and they're going to bring their A games.
That's for sure. So Ethan, you want to boot up the next?
Yeah, you want to talk about the novel, huh?
Yeah.
Here we go. All right.
So actually, well, I'm the creator behind Manhattan Transfer, but this story for me actually goes all the way back, jump in a time machine to 1990, when Gene Roddenberry and I became friends, and eventually Gene became my mentor. He knew my love of Star Trek, of course, which brought us together, but my ambition to eventually get into creating science fiction shows, series similar to never is going to be as great as Star Trek, but certainly you can shoot for that. Back in 1990, y'all might remember, or if you're around, we called it the World Wide Web. And one day when I had read in the news about the web being released for the first time, I called up Gene and I said, I got to come over. I got to tell you about some incredibly exciting news, a huge science and technology breakthrough. And I then proceeded to tell Gene about the internet and what I saw would be the implications, which would be eventually, first is on the computer, and then eventually we could have audio, music, and then video. And then I explained to Gene that what that would mean is that one day anybody could, on their device, similar to what they had on Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek the original series, their pad, they could watch Star Trek anytime, any place, anywhere, on demand. And he just, you could see his jaw hit the ground. He was blown away. And I said, you are one of the reasons that this technology came about so fast and so quickly. Those that manifested, those technologists, those engineers who watch the show and then literally, will have created these devices. So one of the things that Gene and I would talk a lot about was his experiences in writing and then producing Star Trek. And some of you may not know that Gene basically stepped away. It was 3 seasons for the original series of Star Trek, and Gene kind of stepped away from everyday producing in the 3rd season. And that's because the suits at the studios, the network, was driving him crazy with every minutia and detail, that they kind of controlled him all the way from who's going to be a character to what they can say, everything. The time, of course, when they broadcast the show, of course, the studio, the network decides that. But basically almost caused Gene to have a not a mental breakdown, but just exhausted. And he kind of stepped down. And he said, Sky, let me tell you something. If you can get to the point where you can produce your own series, don't turn it over to the suits. They will control you. They will rewrite your show for you. We fought that battle every day. So he said, whatever you do, maintain control and don't turn it over to the suits. I hope nobody from Netflix or Amazon are watching this. But that's so I kind of took that really at heart. And everything that I've done in my journey and in my career as a producer and a writer has been to take charge myself, raise the funds when you need to, and then keep control so you can have that quality that you really want to shoot for. All along, that's been my path to get to this point. Back in 1993, I'm a big science fiction, obviously, fan, both not only television, Star Trek being my favorite, Twilight Zone, etc., but also novels. So I used to love to read Arthur C. Clarke, Heinlein is my favorite, Asimov, Bova, just all the greats. So I'd always, once a week, go to the bookstores because I love to get hard novels to read, hardcover. And back in 93, there was this book, Manhattan Transfer. It showed Manhattan being lifted in a bubble into a spacecraft. Completely captivated me. I did not know the author at the time. Brought the book home, read it that night, was just, absolutely blown away at the imagination, the writing skills of John Stith, how epic the whole book was. And it had kind of a combination of a feel of I'd say like Independence Day and Star Wars, and just on par with any of the greats from Heinlein, Clarke, Asimov, etc. And so I reached out to John once I started getting into film production and let him know. Off and on, I think he had it optioned. I don't know the details on that. But always the approach in the beginning was to have this turn into a feature-length film, because that's the way the book, it obviously is written. It's not full of sequels and on it. So it's a one-off. And again, like a giant epic film, like Star Wars size. But over the years, I was developing that with John and in touch. And sometimes in Hollywood, it could take a long time to see a project come to fruition. The movie that Clint Eastwood did, Unforgiven, was a script that someone wrote, he read it, put it in his desk, and 20 years later, he dusted it off and then he brought it to life. And a lot of times these projects, especially ones that are independently started, you really, you know, that you have timing is what it's all about. So over the years, I started developing it. And then obviously the industry, being entertainment, film, and television, has dramatically changed, as we all know, and especially in the last 3 to 4 years with the disruption of the new streaming networks. Obviously, the King Kong of those is Netflix, and they've been around for a while. But then the follow-up with Amazon getting into the streaming business, Hulu, of course, Apple, Tubi, and, you know, so many more. They have a ravenous appetite for content right now. And so they're out searching for new content from independent as well as well-established inside producers. I just thought, you know, you really want to make sure you time these projects right. That, along with equity crowdfunding platforms like WeFunder and donor raisers, you know, with Kickstarter, et cetera, you can attract a fan base, people that want to support you, who believe in you and believe in your project. And you can either do it on a donation based, or in this case with WeFunder, this is an equity base. So we're trying to reach out to, you know, over 1,000 investors to make this project come to fruition. So really, it's a perfect storm of these new technologies, the disruption in the business, along with equity crowdfunding that will make this possible. So, and as I mentioned, you know, they need each of these studios, streaming studios, really are in need of content. And Sean has had a number of projects that has been picked up by Netflix and HBO. Maybe, I know we're jumping a little ahead, but maybe you can just quickly hit on that, Sean, and then we can move on.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've been blessed to have done 3 Netflix originals. Had 6 films total on Netflix, but the 3 originals were really, you know, that shows you the power of the streaming platforms. They were, you know, the first one did over 100 million viewed hours, like in the first week it was out, which was,
that's crazy, by the way.
Wow.
It's
That's
really
just crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing, the viewership, the eyeballs around the world, you know. And then we followed that film up, which was called The California Christmas. Of course, we did part 2 after the success. It was also went to the top of the charts worldwide. And then we did a film called That's Amore, which was just a very fun, lighthearted summer kind of rom-com. And we had no delusions of grandeur there. And we were quite shocked when that also skyrocketed up the charts. And from there, I did
That's because you're the hottest director in town.
I wish. I'm trying.
You will with this.
So then I did a film on HBO, and again, you know, it was a really, really fun process and fun movie and full of music. We had Brooke Shields in that, and that one also climbed to the top of the charts in the world for HBO, for Max, I should say. And that was just really great. And then I also had a series over on Crackle Sci-Fi with Casper Van Dien and some other folks that are also casting this already. And that was in the top 10 for Crackle for the entire year. And it was only out the last month of, I think it was 2022. And it was in the top 10 for the entire year. And then I did an action film with Michael Jai White, really fun. We shot it out in the Caribbean, and that one ended up on Stars. And I don't know how, again, #1. And it was, that one had some really amazing lasting powers. #1, I think, for almost 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, just
impressive. We're so honored to have you on this project with us.
Yes.
We can thank Casper for that, actually.
Yes. Just like I said, I'm always pitching him. I'm so honored whenever he throws my name in the hat. You know, I just feel, again, I'm just always happy and honored to be in the conversation for any project. I mean, I love storytelling. I love this process. I love the art of filmmaking in everything that entails. Even doing these awesome webinars. You know, all of this is just. It's part of this creative process. It's part of bringing people together to try and create something spectacular and to entertain people and to, make them question things. They can relate to characters. I love this. I love this so much, and cannot wait for us to all be on set making this, bringing this to life.
Yeah.
So I want to finish up my part of, the journey to get to Manhattan Transfer, the series. Over the years, I was developing it as a feature film. And then, like I mentioned, because of the convergence of all the technologies, the new streaming networks, it really hit me that Manhattan Transfer is a better story told as a television series. And just the whole book is set up really for that. But John, in writing it, just wanted to tell the story from finish to end. But as a TV series, I think it really can shine. And so I approached John with that idea. He said, yep, signed off on that, loved it. And then I sat down with my usual producing partner, and that's Walter Koenig. Walter, as probably most everybody knows, played the iconic character Chekhov, also was in Babylon 5 and has been in just a slew of other films and et cetera. So I usually do a lot of projects with Walt. Sat down, we discussed it. He loved the concept. And then we kind of went off from the original book with a number of characters, including, and we'll discuss this a little bit later, one for Walter. But once Walter said he wanted to be a part of it, wanted to be a part of this project, wanted to be a producer and really help bring this to fruition, I then moved this project forward, reached out to Ethan and the rest of the team, and we've been able to get it to this point now, and now need a great base of investors and supporters to bring this to life today.
We should also talk about, the cast. Obviously we touched on Casper, and now Walter. But there's so many of Star Trek alum in this already.
You want to bring that up, Ethan? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm jumping ahead on that, but
no, that's okay.
They're there. It should be up now.
So look at those good-looking guys. Go ahead.
Obviously, we've got Casper and Walter that we just mentioned, and then of course Doug Jones, who's just was on Star Trek Discovery and did such an amazing role in that. It was so good in it. And this, which is really interesting, he's been in so many things, from Pan's Labyrinth to The Shape of Water, and he's always playing these amazing Hellboy, playing these amazing creatures and characters where you don't necessarily get to see his face. So one of the really cool, exciting things about this is that we'll actually get to see Doug's face.
His quid pro quo when we started discussing, and I sent him the script, was no alien makeup.
we
can do that.
And he's so good in those characters. But yes, we're very happy to actually get to show his face. John Billingsley, of course, from Enterprise.
He's amazing.
Such a fantastic actor. And
did you see him in Turn? The series Turn?
Yeah. He's so good.
Amazing.
Really, really solid. As everybody, all of these people on our roster are. Tim Russ from Voyager, what an amazing guy. Loved Tim. I also
and Tim has been director on Star Trek of Gods and Men, Star Trek Renegades, so many of our projects.
Yeah,
he's just the man.
Yeah, he's awesome. Also a really good musician. I don't know if the general audience knows that, but he is one heck of a musician.
He's awesome.
All of that stuff. And then we've got Dominique Keating, of course, from Enterprise as well. Another just really solid actor, and was so great.
He's a lovely guy. He's so nice.
Yeah, and Bonnie Gordon, who voices a character on Star Trek Prodigy, which is a super fun animated series. And so, just look at all those Star Trek right there. And of course, we keep joking, we need to get somebody from Next Generation, right? We gotta try our best.
I have a few in my pocket.
we gotta complete our
I can tell our audience. I actually I approached Brent Spiner, and Brent said, "Oh, I can't do any more." He goes, "This sounds like a great idea, but I just can't do any more science fiction." Even though I guess he just did Picard, but I think he liked to play other stuff, and he's an amazing.
Yeah. And then we've got Jennifer Winger, Jennifer Van Dien as well. she's been a dear friend of mine, and has just been in tons of really cool projects and several of my projects, including Salvage Marines, which was the science fiction show we did on Crackle. And Shalay Brannon, another amazing actress. Maybe one of you guys can speak to her more, as I don't know her as well.
Well, we just had her in one of our recent projects called Renegades Amanera, and
Nice.
just like that sort of Charlie's Angels in outer space. We're
I
going to
love
be
it.
bringing it out. It was, it had Nichelle Nichols' final performance in it as
Oh,
well. So it's very heartwarming in that sense, and bittersweet because we've lost her now. So, and then Ashley and Eve and Robert. So we have, and there's obviously more. This is a big ensemble cast that we have. And the beauty
yeah.
part about a television series is that we're going to be doing is we have our A story, and that's the big story we talk about. Big mothership comes, abducts, abducts and brings Manhattan up into the ship. And we end the pilot and we see that there's hundreds of other bubbles with all kinds of alien cities in there. And yeah, like behind Ethan. And everyone's left like, what happened to Earth? But the main part of this is that we're going to discuss and we're going to show the human condition, put in this condition. We'll have all this ensemble cast, each with their own stories as they go through these trials, as hideous, crazy circumstances they're being put in. And so that's the meat of the show, each episode. But the big story arc is, how do they get out? How do they make contact? Are they good aliens, bad aliens? Who's running the mothership? Has Earth been destroyed, or is it still back? And if they can't get back home, how do they get back? And so the idea would be this would be a 4-5 season large series arc, but with individual episodes. And what we're raising the funds for and producing would be the pilot. And that'll kick it off.
Yeah, and this really is a story about, again, like you said, the human condition and you can think of it in a lot of ways like a post-apocalyptic series, or these kinds of things where you're really looking at that human condition. You're looking at how the people are going to cope with this extreme situation, and some good and some bad, right? That's what happens.
A lot of bad.
Yeah, but then in this fantastical setting, obviously, as you spilled the beans there, Sky, on all the other different beings that have also been abducted along with humanity, along with humans.
So it's about contact. It's about contact. So in a way, with Star Trek, of course, when Gene created it, it's wagon train to the stars, and they go to a new planet each time. Our series will focus on going from each city at a time, each one in exhibiting, experiencing different aliens, some that will work with us to try to get out, and some that won't. That's for sure. So that's our homage, really. That's my homage to Star Trek. So, but we're all doing it inside a mother alien ship.
And you can just imagine the wealth of visuals that will bring to the table, and obviously makeup effects and all of these different things is going to be a really it's just lush with that creativity and that art that we'll be putting on screen.
Right.
Yep, definitely.
What's up next, Ethan?
The genres, or not the genres, the concept and tone, which is probably Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get that up.
Yeah.
I have a director's question for you, Sean.
Oh, sure.
So
yeah.
I mean, what we originally thought is, like Sky had sort of mentioned just now, kind of classic sci-fi with the dark dystopian, but we also want to go into thoughtful science fiction. So, but I know you already have a vision for what you want this thing to look like.
Yes, Sky and I discussed early on that obviously exploring this fantastical setting like we're just talking about, it's just so ripe for what kind of imagery we're going to be seeing, but also keeping it still in a kind of visceral and kind of gritty setting, because it is such such chaos, especially when this all initially goes down. So aesthetically, we're going to be paying homage to the pieces of the past. So there will be a feeling of almost a vintage vibe to it, but also futuristic, that kind of marriage of the two. And, not
I
just
I love that
super-
approach. Really love that approach.
Yeah, which is, obviously all the great science fiction that we love has kind of, dips its toes in that sense in one way or the other. So, we want to have that marriage of the old and the new, and even in the look of it, even in the color palettes and in the way that we, treat the color correction in post and the atmosphere. I'm a big proponent of atmosphere and layers. So even in our wides and medium shots, you're going to see a lot of layers to it. And because this is a world that's so rich and ripe with what that is, even just thinking about Manhattan itself, there's so much going on in the city, so many pieces, so many textures, that we definitely want to really play with that and just build out this lush, amazing world, whether it's Alien or like I said, Manhattan itself. So yeah, it's going to be a combination. It's going to be a mood that is a little bit darker. Of course, there's levity as well that is in there. It's in the script itself, and also in the original novel. So there will be that levity, but also this, very serious tone, and like I said, a little bit of darkness, a little bit of gritty that's mixed in there.
Thank you. Great.
Well, see, we already talked about the cast. Do we want to say anything more about them? I think we pretty well covered
No,
that.
I think we covered the cast.
Okay, well, the next on our list is us. The team.
Well, which we already
We
touched
did.
upon as well. So
That's
we've
true.
already introduced ourselves. I mentioned that Walter Koenig is, key producer, executive producer, involved from day one on this project and is all invested. And frankly, he's looking at this as his last big hurrah. I can't say it's going to be his last series that he might be in, but that's certainly how, our talks that we have a lot. We mentioned Walter really wants to go out with a bang with this one in particular. And of course, John Stith, our author, as I mentioned, who is a co-writer on the pilot script and will be involved in the ongoing series when we get picked up.
Oh, this is something I wanted to jump in too, because as we spoke about before, the novel kind of being this one overarching story, but we're talking about 5 seasons here. So having the original writer on board, I think, is really key to some of that, right? To expanding the storyline.
Right.
You think about Game of Thrones. You think about what's his name, the author, being along there. So I think that's a really cool thing that we have going here to expand and push the universe and build upon it.
Right. And John has already done something of a series Bible and has mapped out what he feels like should be in each of the maybe 4 or 5 seasons. And again, this is probably all it can change, but he's already has that concept and that vision for what a 5-season series would be like with his story.
Right.
Yeah, and that's always so important. Like I was saying, with like having George R.R. Martin, on Game of Thrones and that kind of
Exactly.
thing. Really, really cool to have John on board, already having a vision of where that can go as we progress.
And like his novel, it's going to be epic. It's going to cover so much ground. It's high adventure and more than anything, this sense of wonder that John captures in the book. Classic, great science fiction, and that's what we're going to bring. Not only, of course, with the pilot, but with the series when this gets picked up.
Speaking of the book, there is a question here that I would like to ask you guys.
Sure.
I'm already a backer, and I'm so looking forward to being a small part of the pilot. I've resisted the temptation to read the book, and I'm curious, will modern CGI and other technologies force you to make major changes from the book or allow you to stay more faithful to the source material?
Well, that's a great question. And the answer is the latter. Because of new technology, the teams that we've been able to pull together in particular, we have a great CGI team out of Germany, Tobias Richter and his team, we can, and the software keeps improving all the time, we can really take that grand vision in John's novel and then bring it to life here in the television series. So back in the day, that was one of the conversations Gene and I would have all the time was, he said the limitation was his budgets were so small to produce Star Trek. And he goes, I never took offense, but when people would make fun of our paper mache rocks that an alien would throw, he goes, sometimes it hurt my feeling, but today, with the technology, the software, with really great skill set teams, we can do, what they call ILM, George Lucas styles, special effects. We really can. And Sean has done some similar himself in terms of directing. So it's just amazing now what you can do.
Yeah, I've had quite a bit of extensive experience with visual effects, not even just as directing, but also as a VFX artist back in the day. And yes, Sky's absolutely right. Just like any series, though, again, I'm saying Game of Thrones, not that they're resemble each other in any real way, but of course, when you're doing a series, there's going to be changes, just story-wise, character-wise. They have to evolve and change to make it all really make sense. So there are changes that will happen, but as far as those kinds of visuals and staying true to the book, of course that's our goal. And luckily we have really amazing people already on board to work on those visual effects.
Right.
It can only get better.
What's up, Ethan, next? Ethan? I don't know if you can hear me.
I think he is having some headphone issues.
Yep.
Sorry, my headset just decided to quit and now it's back. Sorry.
21st century technology, huh?
I know, you're talking about advanced technology and the aliens cut me off, I guess.
The aliens are listening.
Yeah.
Well, I hope we answer, by the way, I hope we answered the audience's question.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. What's up next, Ethan?
Some past projects, which Sean has already talked about some, and these are kind of all of our projects together, both Sky, ones that Sky created and I worked on, and the ones that Sean has done. So Star Trek of Gods and Men was our first foray into that, the 40th anniversary.
So yeah, let me jump in on that one so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the audience understands. I mean, that's a feature-length film.
Mhm.
There's a whole, I can't get into it because there's too much time, the backstory on that, but it stars Walter Koenig, Nichelle Nichols, Alan Ruck, Tim Russ, Garrett Wang, Gary Graham, and we just go on. It's a Grace Lee Whitney from the
Grace
original
Lee Whitney.
series of Star Trek, goes on and on. The key point to discuss for today for our prospective investors is that back in when we first shot that in 2006 and then finally released it in 2008, I made that film for, and I really don't talk about it, but I made it for $150,000. And the executives at Paramount were frankly just blown away at the quality level and what we did for such a small amount of money. And it was in that film that we really learned, and with Tim Russ as my director, so proud of the work that he did on that, really learned it's a fine art of expertise. It's not just smoke and mirrors, but how you can really produce a really high quality science fiction film, pennies and dollars, and versus what we're going to get into it in another slide here, but the cost of a typical show is. But here at that film, I really learned as a producer and a writer, how to do this. And then the follow-up series from that was Star Trek Renegades, which was a pilot that was presented to CBS. That's a whole nother longer discussion, but again, for very little money, less than $500,000, we produced something that looked like, $6, $7, $8 million at the time. So that's, and it's not something that comes easy. Sean can tell you that because he's cut his teeth from the film and the independent film world, what you really have to learn.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is. It takes people that really, really are passionate and understand the craft, come together for obviously a common goal. That's really what it boils down to, and obviously, talented people too. There's got to be some talent involved there to really pull off that stuff, especially on the lower budgets. I came from that same world. I did films for next to nothing, and I think that you learn so many amazing things by doing that. And then, of course, you can always apply that as you scale up. And the idea is always making the project look bigger and better and more impressive than what you might have spent. And to be honest with you, I think most people do recognize that the big budget movies are very bloated and inflated and spending money that they don't necessarily need to spend.
You mean all on the producers?
Well, there's some of that too.
I wish.
Sure.
We independents want to put it on the screen, what you see, not in our pocket.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's about putting it all on the screen, trying to put the most you can on the screen so that you, at the end of the day, you have the, best product possible, especially for the spend. And as you can see here on our slides with all these really cool projects, we have well over 200. I think 250 million is kind of a safe number to throw up there. Between all of us, we've really had some amazing viewership, and of course, we feel just super lucky that we've had audience that have found these projects and really supported them and believe in them and love them and support us as filmmakers moving forward to this new and super awesome project.
Yeah. Great.
You talked about the budgets and the similar budgets. We can, let me get that going. Just a second. There we go.
So the point of this slide is to just show our prospective supporters what a typical show across the board might spend in producing. So for instance, Star Trek Discovery on average spent $8 million per episode. The Walking Dead, which is a fabulous series, one of my all-time favorite as well. I mean, their per episode went up to about 13.7 million per episode. Game of Thrones, which was, really broke new ground. They spent, and actually sounds actually like a good deal now, $15 million per episode. Star Trek Picard, if you watch that, very high quality, good shows, but again, 8 to 9 million per episode. And The Rings of Power, that's 60 to 100 million. Now, there's a lot of money that goes into these, and Sean mentioned, we mentioned that a lot of it does go, you look at, there's sometimes 20 or 30 producers on some of these shows. They're big efforts, and we're not knocking any of them. The networks want to spend this money, so producers will gladly take it and produce it. When you're doing it like we are, which is independent, you raise the money and you produce it, and then you show them what you got, which is what we're going to do. But we're going to do it for less than 1.2 million, and I think we'll rival any of these shows in look and feel, and with our great cast, pulling it off, we can do that.
Do you want to do the timeline a little bit?
Sure.
All right. There we go.
So we just started, as everybody knows, the WeFunder launch. I think we're off to a really stellar, great start at this point. And we're rolling out a tremendous amount of advertising, promotion, so we can gain, wide mainstream attraction to our project. Although shooting the pilot is a moving target, we're looking at this point, December. And we're looking at a total of 10 shoot days. You can do that, right, Sean? Oh, lost you.
You're on mute there, Sean.
Sorry about that, guys. Yes, we can do that. Again, obviously it is a advanced, fast schedule, but we have the team in place to pull it off, and we have done shoots like this similarly. Pages per day and all of
Right.
that kind of.
And typically, you want 60 days for your pre-production. That's really where you line up. I mean, you already have to have most of your cast finalized, which we do, as everybody knows. But once we get into very active pre-production, we lock down our venues where we shoot. The crew, all that needs to be brought together to film. So once we're done, we're projected to go into post-production right in early January or in December. It takes 3-4 months to kind of go through that process, given what we have for our script. And we think by May, we're pitching it to the streaming services at that point. And we'll have a completed pilot. So that's the main difference. I mean, other these, most producers are bringing scripts with a cast. They call it the package. You go through your series of pitches. We're doing it a little unconventional, but because we can with the crowdfunding, like we mentioned, and we want to be able to control the content at the end of the day.
So the one thing we had left is just to tell people about some of the perks. Not only can you get your investment and make money off your investment, but we thought we would toss in a little extra there. So depending on the amount of the investment, these are some of the perks that we can do.
I like that T-shirt.
Yeah, it is. Now,
I want one.
well, let's get them made. So things like, watching the stream a little early, if that's possible with the deal that we get, DVDs or Blu-rays, the T-shirt. We're planning to do at least 2, maybe more 2-hour-long live streams from behind the scenes. We want to get our live stream as close as we can to the action without Sean kicking us off the set. We can also bring someone out and just spend a day on the set and meet the cast, meet the crew, and see what it's like to make a project like this. Some of the others, if you want to get your start in the business, you can be an associate producer. If you're an aspiring actor, we have a few little roles where we can have you on camera, not just.
You'll probably get killed at the end of the pilot, though. Just kidding.
Wear a red shirt. So, but we're setting this up so you're not the 18th person back in the background. You would be up front and your face would be on the screen. Or we can even go all out and be co-executive producer or executive producer, again, all depending on the size of the investments. And I think that's all that we had on our list, I think, unless there's something else you guys want to.
No, I talk too much, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like we have a good amount of questions coming in. We do have 10
Okay.
more minutes until the end of the webinar, so let's just go through
That's
these.
great.
All right, so the first question I am seeing here is, historically speaking, what financial return have investors in projects like the Star Trek series or Inalienable or Cosmos seen on their money, and how long did it take to get that return?
So good on the Star Trek series, we were not able to monetize those due to the terms and restrictions of the owner of Star Trek. So those were done for the fans without monetization. A typical film will take up to, from start to finish, if you make the sale, about a year. And so, but there's no real typical return on every project turns on its own, in terms of how much money it can make. But generally speaking, about a year, that point in time, the investors can start seeing some returns. Sean, I don't know what you if you want to address
Yeah,
that. as well.
yeah, it's a similar thing. That is, it just all depends on the deal, and there's so many different types of deals, you know, depending on that stuff. But obviously, we have the WeFunder set up, which talks about that stuff, which is great for this particular project because that's how we're approaching it with this. So all of that kind of structure is already set up. But yeah, that's a typical thing because a film takes in the neighborhood of about a year to from start to finish. Now this is a pilot, so we're a little bit more advanced timeline as far as finishing the pilot and then going to series. So that's kind of a different thing than a film altogether, anyways. So again, a lot of that is due to or is contingent upon what kind of deal you do, who you're doing it with. It's very different from Netflix to Max or Stars or something like that, Lionsgate or Saban. I mean, there's everybody has a different deal and different structure, and how that's all going to work. Sometimes it's just a straight up deal. Like Netflix will just be like, okay, you finished you independently produced it, which is what several of those films, that's how they were done, independently financed and produced, but still in conjunction with Netflix. And then the sale goes to Netflix. And once the project is finished, like they're like, no, you got to finish it. It's not, well, it's almost done. No. Once it's finished, and Netflix signs off on it, then they write the checks and there's that kind of deal and then you're just done. It's the one thing, one check, everybody in their payment structure, they're going to get paid back on that. But Netflix they've bought it, they own it, and boom, you're off to the races. But there's completely other deals like that. If you're an actual Netflix production or it's not a Netflix original at all. That's a completely different system, a completely different approach. And then again, like I said, series is a much different ball game. And depending on the partnership that you're actually having with a potential streaming service.
Yeah. And then what do you think sets Manhattan Transfer apart from other sci-fi streaming series currently on the market?
Ethan,
You want me to jump in?
Sean,
Or Ethan, you want to?
go ahead.
No,
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's so many different stories to tell. Yep, the number of characters we have and the possibilities, first of all, in Manhattan, and then once we break out and go see all the other little dome cities, there's so many possibilities for stories. I think we have quite a bit more than something like somebody on a spaceship just traveling here and there.
And what's happening on Earth too. We'll be going back to
Yeah.
that.
And I also think it's this really cool kind of survival story, which there can be sub stories like that even in the Star Trek series and all their spinoffs, but this one is truly like, it is that fear of what's happening. It's we're abducted, right? So it's like I don't know of anything that really I mean, there have been shows in the past that touched on that in a way, but this is really different than anything that's currently on air.
And we're going to really get into those stories as well. I mean, so if you're removed, the money means nothing at all at that point in time. You're cut off. So how do you, what happens to the garbage? How do you eat? There's a thousand
water.
Yeah, there's 1,000 issues that
run out of toilet
the Manhattanites are going to have to deal with, and no science fiction series has ever really touched on this at all. So,
yeah, it's really interesting. It's like you can think of like War of the Worlds, right? Yeah. But then they die, they get the disease and earthbound disease, and they collapse, and it's over, right? This is like, no, what if they really did take us, and now what, right? Like right. This is exploring a step further than a lot of those stories ever go, and it's a lot. It's going to be a journey. It's not. We don't just figure it out and get back home. And what does getting home even look like without Manhattan? Or can we somehow get Manhattan put back? Just the endless possibilities there. And again, I think there's just this kind of real world, sphere mixed into this lush science fiction world that is really unique.
Yeah, we do have 4 more minutes, so I do want to just quickly just go through these
Sure.
questions. WeFunder, what made you decide to go the crowdfunding route?
So everybody knows about Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and generally speaking, back in the day, it was very good. We had very successful raises on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, especially for our Star Trek projects. But over time, it's become a little bit more challenging to raise money on a donation basis. I also wanted to make sure that we had the proper budget to really deliver on a really high quality broadcast pilot. So in order to do that, we needed to look to investors, fans, and supporters to come on board, and owners in the revenue that we make. So WeFunder was the first out of the gate. They have a stellar reputation. I like their platform. Every way it's set up is very, very conducive to helping first-time investors to come on board. And we kind of set the low bar of just $250. I'm not supposed to talk about the terms, I guess. But in any event, you can go to the page and see it really is appealing to first-time investors to get on board. So in order for us to produce really the quality program we wanted, I felt it was really important for us to reach out to investors.
And then how does the team plan to leverage the original novel's fan base to support the series?
So John Stith has a nice following out there, so he's going to be posting all the time as a part of the team that's written the pilot and will be a part of writing the series as well. So John has other novels that he's written, new ones coming out. So he'll be reaching out to his fan base to let them know about the series. And because John is a well-known science fiction novelist, the literary market will pick this up as well and make it.
He's intimately involved. So
Yeah.
obviously, that's how the audience is connected with this project as well.
And then what about investors? Will they be able to provide any input or feedback during the production process?
Actually, yes. Go ahead, Ethan.
No, you go ahead.
So absolutely. Once you come on board as an investor, we'll be giving you inside information on the filming, how it's taking place. We'll be doing surveys, involving you in behind the scenes as well. And so especially as we roll into a series, we're going to be tapping into our supporter base for their ideas, their thoughts, their feedback, which will greatly improve the series, making it really unusual or unique position, because as we know, most studios don't want to tap the fans.
Right.
They'll just make their product, put it out there. Whereas we're going to embrace that.
Yeah. And that's very similar to what Star Trek did in Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, letting outside people pitch ideas. In fact, that's how I got into this sort of with my 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
And then the last question I see here is, where are you planning to film it? LA or New York?
Good question. We're going to be filming in Los Angeles. We might send a second unit out to New York City. That's something that we're going to talk with Sean about, so we can get some on the ground. But mostly it's going to take place in Los Angeles.
Establishing and
Establishing shots.
Some of the iconic stuff that we will grab those pieces in one way or the other. But yeah, for interiors, for all of that stuff, we'll be filming with our resources in Los Angeles.
Awesome. And before we sign off, is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
Sure. Well, one, I want to thank them for this. This is 45, 50 minutes. I hope we somewhat entertained you. We thank you for your interest, your support, especially. Now is a very critical time for us on WeFunder. You kind of look for milestones and goals. Our next one, we need to reach 100,000 immediately, and at 250,000, then WeFunder kind of steps up and really helps to market as well. So right now at this time, if you like what you heard and you go to the WeFunder, hopefully you can you can support us, be a part of this journey and this adventure.
And this is a really, really can put your faith into this team. We've got people like our director of photography is phenomenal. You know, like all of the
Our
composer is unbelievable. He's done massive projects, including like Lord of the Rings, you know, and stuff like that. Massive video game properties, and like he's done the score for Metal Gear Solid. You know, like all this stuff. Super cool stuff. He's going to bring a really unique score to it. Of course, you know, makeup artists is phenomenal, and visual effects, our visual effects team. So this is a really, really solid team that I 1000% believe in, and know that we're going to bring and really make a high quality product. So I just hope you guys join us and become part of this film family to create something truly wonderful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who attended the webinar.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, so much.
Thank you. Yes.
Have a great
definitely.
one.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.